Hey, you 130,000 beautiful souls out there. Please subscribe and press the like button. Please look at my old videos. Please, I beg you to do that. Oh, sorry, it's not 130,000. It's 130. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I've got what's called the Sarasota Tim syndrome, man. I'm sure he does have more subscribers than they say he does. I think he knows what he's talking about. I just got a feeling that he's telling the truth. Probably don't want to pay him X amount of money. That's what's going on. Everything's a business, man. Everything's about money. The whole world is about money. Everything's about money. Wars are about money. People dying is about money. Look at the wars going on right now. How many people are dying daily? It's all about money. That's my political speech for the day. But one thing I would like to say, you know, I go downtown. I talk to people, you know, have a cup of coffee, you relax. I was at my place last week. I go to a coffee house, Angelo, and I'm by his place. There was a couple of people there. They were from the Netherlands. They were from the Netherlands, and we were chatting. And they're on a cruise, so they're going, you know, they're going down from Mazatlan, from San Diego to Mazatlan. Actually, sorry, I think they were going from Washington State. They came down Pacific to San Diego, Tijuana, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and Acapulco, I believe. And on the way back, they go to 5 different resorts. In 10 days, they do 10 resorts. And we were chatting, and they're retired, because I thought they were older, man. They're retired people. And they're in their late 60s like I am. I think the man was a little older. Maybe he was in his 70s, but I'm not sure. But the lady said she was 68. The guy didn't say that. I think he was maybe in his 70s. And I just asked them how they loved it, how they liked it. They said they loved it. Everything was, Mexico was incredible. They've never been before, first time. They say, you know, they've downsized. They live in a little 1-bedroom apartment downtown in a city in the Netherlands. I think it was Amsterdam or maybe Rotterdam. I don't know where it was. I forget what they said, but... and I was thinking, wow, they're in a 1-bedroom apartment. Yeah, you know, we got our kids live nearby and it's great, but we would love to one day move somewhere else, you know, somewhere in the sun, and you know, maybe Spain. And I said, well, why not Mexico? And they said, wow, we don't think we could afford Mexico. It's a long way. And I said, wow, you don't know you want to know the statistics. And I sat there drinking my coffee, and this guy bought my coffee. He says, okay. He said, give me the rundown. And I did. And he gave, hi buddy, buenos tardes. He gave me the rundown of the whole, I gave him the rundown of the whole economics of living in Mexico. And he was astounded. He said, I don't believe you. And I said, believe me, because I make videos. So he started watching a few videos, and he sent me some text from some of the ports that he's been. He said, wow. He said, incredible. He said, I'm really happy we got in touch. And he didn't believe the prices. So many people I see, vacationers, they say, wow, I'm staying in a great hotel, incredible facilities, oh my God. And I say, well, you're going to, you know, maybe come back one day. And he said, we couldn't afford it, man. You know what it costs? And I said, you don't understand. You can live here for 6 months. It will cost you X amount of money. And they say, you're lying. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, watch my videos, man. I've been telling them non-stop. I had a couple, I think they were from Scotland, I believe. It was maybe a year ago. We were chatting. They live in Mazatlan now. But they didn't believe me with the prices. And I said, I'm telling you, for 2,000 English pounds, which is like $2,400, you can live like a king as a couple in Mexico. And you do it this way. And I went down a budget, and they moved. They said, we're going to give it a shot for 6 months. They didn't actually like it. They actually left and moved to Portugal, I believe. We're still in touch. But they did out to 6 months. They had a 6 months lease. And they enjoyed it, but it wasn't what they were after. You know, they wanted to be around more British people, and in Mazatlan there's not many. You know, so I'm just saying, Mazatlan actually has the best British monument you've ever seen. It's in the center of Mazatlan. It's the Beatles commemorative. They have a Beatles commemorative where they have Abbey Road with the crossing, the car is there, the telephone box is there. Really, they have an Abbey Road commemorative in Mazatlan, of all places. Wow, it's hot today. It's about 85 degrees. There's a wind. But man, when the wind doesn't come out, it gets really hot. I'm just telling you, it's pretty humid out here. But it's pretty nice though. The weather is incredible. The Canadians are still here. The Americans are still here because the weather is so incredible. But I'll tell you something. This is an incredible statistic I'm going to tell you. If you have a one-bedroom apartment in the United States of America and you pack up all your personal belongings and put them in one room of a two-bedroom apartment or in one room of a one-bedroom apartment, you can let out in any city in the US, you know, that has a decent-looking apartment, I got to say. You can rent out your little apartment, studio or one bedroom, and with that money that you accumulate, that you get from the renters, you can live in Mexico with that same amount of money. I know you won't believe that, but it's true. Or you can live on your Social Security and save that money, one or the other. Generally, the place I just left in Colorado is renting for about $1,800. I could easily live on $1,800. It wasn't mine, but I'm just saying that the owners of the house, they're thinking of of renting the whole house out for like $3,000 and coming to live in Mexico. They've been on at me for a long time. What do I do? How do I do it? And I've been telling them, and they're going to do it. They will do it within the next year, I would imagine. They're not retired, you know, they are working people, but they're younger, you know, in the 30s. But I'm just saying that people want to do it. And you could actually swap your life in the US for 6 months. Just go for 6 months, see if you like it. Because I know you will. How can you not like it, for God's sake? It's as safe as anything. You know, the food is incredible. I'm actually on a diet at the moment. I'm on that intermittent diet where I'm only eating from 5 o'clock in the evening till 9 o'clock at night. So 5 to 9. I've got a 4-hour window to eat, and I don't eat for the next 20 hours. And I've been doing that now for a few days, and it's working, man. It is working. I've probably lost, in the last 4 days, I think I have lost something like 6 pounds. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm drinking a lot of coffee with a tiny amount of milk. I can't drink coffee without milk, but I drink a tiny amount of milk, a very tiny amount, and a sweetener, not sugar. I've been off sugar now actually I've been eating natural sugar. I had an apple yesterday, I had a couple of dates. That's fine, but just regular sugar, 0. Cut the sugar out, man. Cut the sugar out, you're going to lose a lot of weight, a lot of belly fat. You know, honestly, you lose a lot once you cut the sugar out. The sugar's the killer. You know, you'll be amazed in 3 months what you will lose in 3 months. Well, anyway, cut a long story short, I've been talking to people, as I say. I spoke to these guys from Holland. They've been messaging me every single time they arrive in a different port. Can we chat? Yeah, we can chat. Do you have time? Yeah, I have time. Can you do this? How much is that? How much is the things? How much? And I'm telling people, I actually really reiterate to everybody, move a little outside the resort, a couple of miles. I live a couple of miles outside the main town of Puerto Vallarta. It's actually about 6 kilometers that way. I've got the airport about 3 kilometers that way is the airport, and about 3.5 that way is the marina, and about 6 kilometers is the main town of Puerto Vallarta, the beginning of the main town. You know, it goes on for a couple of miles after that. But what I'm trying to get at is that Uber is very cheap. You know, I can go downtown in an Uber for $7. It could be 2 of you, so it's $7, $3.50 a piece. I can go to the airport in an Uber from here right now for $5. Maybe $6, maybe. If there's 2, maybe $6 with your luggage, I think. But they won't drop you directly in the airport. If they go in, they got to pay. So they drop you across the road from the bridge going to the airport. So you You drop off this side of the main drag in Puerto Vallarta. Okay, you go across a bridge and you go to the airport that way. You carry your own luggage, which usually is not much, as you're on, you're not here you're only here for a few days. So what I'm saying is that you save yourself a lot of money. Ubers are not expensive, they're cheap, cheap, cheap. And I tell people all the time, that's what you do. You live outside the Vallarta, the main drag, just live a few miles inland. It's a lot cheaper, especially to buy a place, especially to live here, to rent a place. Just great advice, okay? And a lot of these guys on there, all they're doing is they're trying to sell. Every Puerto Vallarta video out there is really they're selling. That's what they're doing. You've got people who are coming there blogging, they go from town to town, and they're giving you a good rundown of Puerto Vallarta, but the ones to live, it's really a business. You say, oh, my apartment costs $375. It's a total lie. You couldn't rent a shack for $320. Well, actually you could, but not a decent one where a Westerner could live, man. Honestly, there's shacks and there's shacks, But anyway, everything's about money, and you get what you pay for. But here in Mexico, if you live a few miles from the coast or inside, there's a massive difference. There's a massive difference in price, because you can get a one-bedroom apartment within a half a mile of the beach, anywhere around half a mile of the beach, and let's say you're paying, I don't know, $1,480 a month or $1,450 a month for that. Okay, usually it's around that price, or even maybe $1,350, because you're near the beach. You can walk to the beach, without any problem. If you live 2 miles further out, the same apartment is $500. $500, okay? I can get an apartment, that's 9,000 pesos. I can get an apartment easy for 9,000. I know there's one right now for less than that. It's actually 8,500 pesos. And it has a security as well. It's in a gated apartment building. It's actually blocks of apartment buildings. It's like, I think, 10 apartments on each one. The people there are not really foreigners. There's a lot mainly Mexicans, and it's kind of noisy. We have Mexicans living where I live. Actually, it's not too noisy, but it's noisier. Americans and Canadians are kind of quieter people. They are. They just are. They kind of keep it down. Mexicans don't. Mexicans love life, man. They're shouting. They're singing. The kids are there. They're very family orientated here in Mexico, especially young people. And we have a pool that is amazing. In the summer, our pool is so quiet you couldn't hear a pin drop, because most of the vacationers have gone. So the people who live here, and they go to work during the day, and the pool's quiet. When there's the season between November and the end of April, so the beginning of November, end of April, that's our season. It's 6 months long. Tourists come non-stop. Airbnb, tourists. Kids are off from school. There's so many things going on, but I'm just telling you, man, it's noisier. It's a lot noisier, When vacation is around, it's noisy. Even here, it was Easter the last few days, of course, and it was our complex was a lot noisier. Most of the people there, they invited their family from inside Mexico, wherever, to come to visit Puerto Vallarta. They all stayed around. There was a lot of tourists around, and all good people though, and it was nice. So I'm just saying that there's Mexico, you get what you pay for, but I'm telling you, in Mexico, getting what you pay for is a different thing, because if you want a place close to the beach, it's going to cost you 2.5 times more than if you're living 2 miles away. Now that 2 miles, will it save you any money? Well, you've got to get Ubers every day if you don't live here, or you can get the bus. There's a bus right over there, go straight downtown. Within, say, actually it's not that little distance, but it's within a mile of where I live, there is a bus that goes downtown. If I want to take it, it costs 75 cents to take the bus. 75 cents, okay? If you want it. And what I do sometimes, I take the bus into town, especially if it's, well, I always try and go after 9 because then the workers are not on the bus. You know, they kind of go a little earlier, or they, you know, and what it is the bus is empty. Otherwise, you might have to stand because it's busy, you know. But so what I do is usually I go after 9, get into town. It takes quite a while to get into town on the bus. So yes, let's say 10. And I do what I got to do. I go around, have a cup of coffee, relax. I go down to Malecon. I'm sitting there on the beach, on the seafront. It's all beautiful. And then I walk home. Yeah, I walk home. 7 kilometers maybe. And I've walked already 3 or 4. So I'd say I've done 8 miles, 7, 8 miles a day, which is great. You know, it does you good. And I'm coming up to 70 years old in another year. And I'm happy to do it. I can still walk. I can still walk the longer distances. I might be at the end trudging because I got my bag with me or something. But I do it. Anyway, just an insight. Your Social Security in the US, renting your apartment and living here. Is it a good option? I think it is. People come on vacation, they don't think they can live it. They didn't realize they're going to go, wow. We've been coming to Puerto Vallarta a couple of times. We've had to save up to come. We can't just come. We saved up some money, we came. A lot of people said that, you know, they save a little bit, they save here or there, they try and they, can we make it? Yeah, I can go to Puerto Vallarta. They don't realize they can live here for a certain amount of money. That you can live here for like $2,000 a month if you want to, without any problem whatsoever, and live the life. Love you all. Please subscribe, press the like button. Thank you.